The Queen Mary, often referred to as RMS Queen Mary, was a remarkable ocean liner with a history spanning decades and a legacy that continues to captivate the hearts of travelers. This majestic ocean liner holds tales of grandeur, wartime heroics, and intriguing mysteries. Following the war, the Queen Mary resumed her regal role, carrying travelers across the Atlantic with a newfound appreciation for the beauty of peaceful voyages. Retired from the sea, she found her sanctuary in Long Beach, California, becoming a hotel and a living museum, where visitors from all walks of life could relive the past, explore her historic interiors, and immerse themselves in the tales of those who once graced her decks. Legends of spectral encounters, ghostly sightings, and unexplained phenomena transformed her into one of the most haunted ships in the world, a place where history and mystery intertwine. Let's take a look at 3 ghost stories on RMS Queen Mary. Number 1. John Pedder. Perhaps the most famous of the haunting stories. John Pedder, a former crew member who was killed by being crushed in a watertight door in 1966 during a routine drill. During the conversion of the Queen Mary to a hotel only a few years later. After all the workmen had gone home for the day, a security guard was patrolling at night with a German Shepherd dog. Apart from the dog, he was alone on the ship. Approaching a particular watertight door on D deck, his dog went wild, obviously afraid, and refused to go any further. The guard looked around, thinking that the dog must have sensed an intruder, but could find nobody at all. The dog had never behaved like this before. Suddenly, the quiet was disturbed by a noise which the guard described as like metal rolling quickly towards them. The noise became so loud that the guard ran for his life. Today, this area of the ship has undergone substantial change, and the watertight door in question has been removed completely during the 1967 conversion to a hotel. Today, the space is occupied by a new escalator leading up out of the engine room exhibit. The area may still be haunted though. A tour guide coming out of the engine room saw a darkly clad figure behind her as she left the area on the escalator. Having seen his face, she later identified him as Pedder from photographs. The figure disappeared when she turned away from it briefly. Number 2. Jacqueline Torin. Jacqueline Torin, also known as Jackie, never left the RMS Queen Mary. Her lungs filled with water and her mind went slack as she landed into the second-class swimming pool and drowned. Jackie was never able to leave the RMS Queen Mary. Jackie was one of the many passengers who died aboard the Queen Mary. Jackie is a playful spirit and she will often interact with visitors in first and second-class pool areas. Over the decades of Queen Mary's reign, guests have reportedly had blankets tugged off of them in their sleep, and have heard Jackie giggling, laughing and singing and splashing in the pool and asking people if they know where her parents and Teddy are. Some guests even report hearing Jackie play with other children. Number 3. B340. Arguably the most notorious location on the ship for paranormal activity is Stateroom B340. Its paranormal occurrences stem from a horrid event, or so it is said. Apparently back in the 60s. During one of the final transatlantic cruises before the ship was docked in Long Beach, a man went crazy and brutally murdered 2 women. His crimes were discovered and he was locked in his third-class stateroom, either B222, B224 or B226. The door was locked and a guard was posted outside. A little while later, he started pounding on the door saying someone was in there with him, trying to kill him. The guard ignored him, thinking it was a ruse to escape. After a while, the passenger quieted down and the guard figured he went to sleep. The next day, when the ship arrived in New York, the crew summoned NYPD detectives and they went to apprehend the murderer. When they opened the door to the stateroom, they found the man had been ripped apart and his entrails and limbs spread all over the room. There was no way he could have done this himself. Upon the next sailing, the paranormal reports started coming in from that stateroom. When it was docked in Long Beach in 1967, the 3 third-class staterooms were combined into the larger guest room B340, and the reports continued. By the 1980s, B340 was closed to booking because guests would leave in the middle of the night. There have been many complaints about strange noises, footsteps, switches being turned off and on, hangers in the closet moving by themselves, furniture moving by itself, voices and guests being touched, and several other incidents. The situation got so bad that management were forced to close B340.